Master click.
Hi, welcome to session 12A, Data Specialization. We'll start with the presentation given by Oscar and José for the in GVC new capabilities to explore time data.
Thank you. Hi everyone, I'm Oscar Martinez from GVC Association. I'm going to give the first part of this presentation that is going to talk about the time component in GVC Desktop, and later my colleague José Badia, it will talk about the same but in GVC Online. So this is the index. It will be a bit introduction about how we solve this time component in the GVC suite. First of all, a quick introduction about the time component and why are we doing this, and what could be your needs for this time component. Usually we work with the where, with the location, with the coordinates in any GIS, and with the data, with the attributes, usually string, integers. We usually have that component of date, but now it's a trend to work with this time. And I think this comes from this big data trend where we have a lot of data. It's not a problem now about the data or the information, but the problem is we have so much data. So we need new ways to filter this, all this mess of thousands and thousands of records of data. For example, later I will show you an example of crimes where we have 150,000 crimes in the city of New York. So there we will see how important it is to use this time component. So what do we need about this component, this time component? We use it as a new way to filter the data. Again, we have thousands of crimes on New York, for example, but we need to analyze maybe 1 week of that crimes, maybe 1 month of that crimes, because analyze all the layers, all the data at the same time, it doesn't make any sense. Also, sometimes we need to see the evolution in time of that crimes, always with that example. But this evolution could be very useful to analyze how the cities are growing, how the land use are changing in one zone, for example, how the cadastral parcels are evolving in one country. So we need to work with this time data, time component. Also, we need to start to create new tools to work with this temporal data, okay? Because we usually don't have specific filters for this component, and I think we need to grow and develop in our applications new ways to manage this temporal data. In conclusion, this is about new tools that we have created to extract knowledge from all of that data that doesn't have any sense in GVC suite. First of all, if someone doesn't know GVC Desktop, it's an open source GIS software. You can download it, it's free, open from gvc.com. So like any GIS, you can open that layers, launch your processes with that layers, etc., etc., etc. It's a very big program. Talking about this presentation, about the temporal component, for example, and this is it's a layer from the Open Data Portal of New York. This is just a small sample with 150K crimes. So with all that crimes, we need a filter. We need to filter them by time to extract some knowledge. Because if you create a legend like a simple sample point, it doesn't work. You can't see anything there. Also, we have now in GBC the new legend heat map. So, well, it's starting to see some, you can find where the crimes are concentrated, focused in some areas. But it's not enough. Again, you need a new ways to analyze this data. Also, we have a new legend that is a cluster map that can be useful for other cases. But we need to split this representation by the temporal component. For example, we created one plugin in GBC. This plugin is also created in scripting. If someone came here from yesterday, it's created in scripting one part, and another part is created in Java. It's very easy to configure. You just pick one layer. You execute this configure application, and you select just the time attribute, the field that has the time. You select the range of values that you want to analyze, and the pattern of this data. And just later you go to the menu view, time, and for example, add temporal filter, and it appears this on the right, these applications about filter the data just where you select the initial data that you want to analyze. For example, is the 4th of September, and the end of the data. So just with that part, it makes a filter of your layer, and also it has that slider on the middle that you can dynamically change, so automatically the layer is changing. So you can explore the data in a dynamic way that can be very useful for these cases. For example, here you have a month of crimes from September 2017. So this can be very useful for the police of New York, just to check where are the crimes. But just changing this slider, you can analyze where are the crimes in the weekend. And one more, just again changing the slide, you can check where are the crimes in Monday to Friday, in the middle of the week. So quickly, if I change, you can easily see that the crimes doesn't have the same distribution. So the police of New York can extract knowledge from this data and create new type of routes for his police, etc. That depends on them. But you created a tool that can be very useful for them. Also, we have the animation part. Again, you go to the menu, view, time, animation. Again, you choose the initial data and the end data that you want to analyze. Also, you choose here. Sorry. Okay, I'm going to explain it here. Also, you choose here in how much time do you want to group these points, these data points. In this case, we are saying, okay, we want to analyze from August to December by week. So GBC will group all the data, per weeks, and we will be able to analyze this data by weeks. The animation bar is down on the right, and you can see now if we could press the play button, and it will change automatically. But also we can press the slider and change it. Sorry. As you can see here, I'm changing that bar, And you can see for each week it changed a lot the distribution of these crimes in New York. So as you can see, it changed a lot. So this can be, in an easy way, it can be a very useful tool for any type of user that needs to explore this data. I'm here talking about crimes, but it can be everything. And for the next part of this analysis, I'm going to let my colleague, Jose Badia, and talk about this in GBC Online.
Thanks, Oscar. Well, Oscar told us about the desktop application. It's a Java application. Now I'm going to talk about GBC Online. I know that every one of you are experts on this platform, but for one who aren't experts on that, I'm going to explain in 1 minute what consists GBC Online. For this one who knows something about GBC Online, the first image you get in your head is something like that. You get a geoportal where you can manage all the information, spatial information on it. You can display it very easy and it's very useful. You have several tools to manage this information on the navigator. And also you can display alphanumerical information. Then you can work with it, you can select, you can zoom to the special information, making a request, everything that you want. But GBC Online is not only that thing. GBC Online is a complete spatial data infrastructure. It's a set of technologies, all of them open source, that divides this functionality in two parts. There are the front end and the back end. The back end is the server administration side. There we have the Django, we have PostGIS, GeoServer, GeoNetwork, LDIP for validating users, and the web client we have seen in the previous slide. I'm returning to it. Is all about open layers or jQuery. Well, in this part, we are talking about time dimension in GBC Online. The most important thing is not reinventing the wheel, and we know that GeoServer do this task very easily. For that reason, we only have to provide a correct interface to connect with all the GeoServer API and connect to pass all the parameters that they need to, after that, ask for them for the parameter temporal. Well, first of all, I divide this part in two ways. The first one is to talk about vectorial data, second to raster. And first of all, I'm going to explain how it works in GeoServer. GeoServer configuration is something similar at the right part you have in the slide. You define a layer, and one of the tabs you get is to configure the dimension part. You enable the time, and then you look for one of the columns that you have in your table of your data. This table has to be a date field. You have to get at least one of them to define the instant where this feature is active. If you have two, you are defining a Vicency range of date that it was the lifetime of this feature. At the end, you configure if it's enabled or not. You define also what have to do if you don't provide the time parameter, if you choose the oldest one or the newest one or one in a specific position, and that's all. With that, will be configured your server. What have we do about that? We implement in our platform, in GBC Online, a similar form to fill all the fields that are needed, very useful for the users because they haven't to go to the GeoServer if it's not expert user on it. Only filling these fields well enough, and was GBC Online who talks with GeoServer, exchange their information, and put everything available if it's possible. Then, when everything is set up, we go to the viewer and we can ask for the information. Similar as we can see in Oscar's part in GBC Desktop, we have a scroll bar when we can move, and all the data, all the information depending on this time parameter, will be shown or hide depending on the value we are putting on the first field. We have a scroll bar. We are seeing after in a video that I'm going to show you how it works in movement dynamically. This will be the vectorial data. Then I'm going to talk about raster because it's a little different from the vectorial data. Most important thing is when you try to display vectorial data, you have a table also in your database with a field which is marked a date. Depending on the value of this field, you are displaying or not. Here you only have a folder that contains several raster files. It has a small requirement that you have to accomplish to be sure that it will be working after. First one is that your folder has to have the name of the layer that you are going to represent. And then, inside the folder, all the files have to get the same name of the folder, following by a suffix that determines the instant, the moment that it represents. For example, in this picture, a small picture that we have there are several raster about temperature following by 6 numbers. In that case, these 6 numbers represents as the name, followed by underscore and the 6 numbers. These 6 numbers, the first 4 represent the year and the second the month. It means that the first raster represents the temperature in January of this year, the second in February, and so on. How we make this configuration in GeoServer? Well, we put here the folder, we define the description, the workspace, and it's enough. We need also a small files about configuration. One of them was that I told you, the definition of the suffix of the files. And then GeoServer create a small table in our database that is the same way that it used for the vectorial data. This, in this table, we can support a definition of our own database, or if not, GeoServer puts in its own. At the end, the most important fields, the most relevant fields that it has is the ID, the file that it represents for a data that is here, the timestamp we have there in this column, is represented with this field, this file. Wait, okay. If everything's all right, only making the correct request to GeoServer, adding the time parameter, we can see how it changes depending she applies the raster file that is according to the time we are expressing this. It's a small example here. Now I'm going to see it in how we work in GBSIG online. It's quite similar. We have our file manager. We have to put there the mosaics. We have to define the most important things about the same of the regular expression about the date, the suffix, how it works. And then GBSIG Online makes the rest of the work. It makes all the configuration fields, and then connect with GeoServer using its API, and then everything was ready to start to be shown on our viewer. The functionality in the viewer is the same. We have the same scroll bar. We can divide with the same unities of time, and we are choosing this one the most fits for our needs, and only start to do it. I show you this in movement because it's easy to understand. Here we have how it moves the scroll and how it's changing the information in this. We can change the steps that we've done with the data to making something similar like animation. And at the end, with these 4 tips, these 4 rasters in information. It's quite easy, but at the end, is integrating in our solution in GeoBasic Online this functionality, and it's not needed to go to GeoServer to configure it manually. Well, as Oscar says at the beginning, time support is important to filter information. We have a big amount of information. We need to filter to focus only in a part what is needed. It makes it clean, dismiss invalid data, and allows us to do a better analysis. We can get a frozen picture about a concrete instant and display how the feature evolves over the time. This is our solution to resolve the temporal dimension in the GeoBasic suites. And that's all. Thanks for your attention. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your presentation and for taking time. So any question from the audience? No one? Yes, you have a question? No? So I have one. There is available any tool in this version to make time series analysis, for instance?
And not yet, but we are thinking to include it in following versions. It will be very interesting.
Yes, if you have time, the time
Yeah,
series
okay.
analysis will be very useful.
No, it's the first steps. We are a first approach to do it, to can display in an instant information or arrange information. But now the next steps are following like that.
Thank you. Any question? No? So thank you again. And next presenter. Time series analysis toolbox for Earth observation